In this video, we're going to explore the process documented in Exercise 2.1 in Chapter 2 of the book. We'll be installing a named instance of SQL Server on this particular server. Now, we've already booted the Windows server. We have logged on as an administrator and inserted the SQL Server 2012 trial disk. So now we're actually ready to launch this installation by clicking on the Setup executable here. As you can see, this launches the SQL Server Installation Center. To do an installation of a named instance, we need to go to Installation, and then choose New SQL Server Standalone Installation, or Add Features to an existing installation. Now this is going to run a lot of checks along the way, and so we'll work through this process from beginning to end, allowing you to see exactly the steps involved in installing a named instance. Now the first thing it does is check the setup support rules to make sure that everything is okay to begin the installation. If you click on Show Details, you can see the things that it checks. It makes sure that you're setting it up as an administrator, that you have the proper privileges, if a computer restart is required, that it's taken care of, and etc. So everything looks good. We're going to click on OK to continue this installation process. Now at this point, it's checking to see if there are any updates available for SQL Server. It says there are none that are found online. So we're going to go ahead and continue with the installation. It is now going to scan for product updates, download any setup files that are required. In this case, it can be skipped, extract those, and again, it can be skipped, and then finally install the setup files. And that's what's actually happening right now. So it's putting the files on the hard drive to actually do the SQL Server installation. Notice we are installing Microsoft SQL Server 2012 with Service Pack 1 already integrated. Now the setup support rules have executed, and if we click Show Details, we can see that it was checking for previous releases of Business Intelligence Development Studio that might be on the box, or anything like that that may have some compatibility issues with SQL Server 2012. Everything checks out with a green circle and a white check mark, so we're ready to click Continue or Next. Now we want to perform a new installation of SQL Server 2012. We're not adding to an existing install. Notice there is already one full installation on this machine, and there's a named instance on this machine as well. So we're going to go ahead and install a named instance and click on Next. We'll go with an evaluation version, or we could enter a product key if we had one. Click Next. We need to accept the license term. You can scroll through and read those terms and understand them. And if you wish, you could send feature usage data to Microsoft. We'll choose not to do that and click on Next. For the role, it's a SQL Server feature installation and not a Power Pivot for SharePoint or installing all features with defaults. So we'll go with a feature installation and click Next. And now we get to choose exactly what features we want installed. I'm going to indicate that I want the database engine, the ability to do replication and full text indexes. I'm not going to install analysis services or reporting services with this instance. And we are going to accept that some shared features are of course already installed. We see those there. And actually, that's all we need to select for this installation. So we'll click on Next. Now the installation rules have executed. Let's click Show Details. We can see we need .NET Framework. It's there, so we're OK. We'll click on Next. And now for the instance, let's call this Testing. And for the instance ID, we'll accept the default of testing, and we'll place it in the default location as well. We'll click Next. It's going to check disk space requirements and report to me whether sufficient disk space is available or not. And in this case, it indicates that there is sufficient space. Again, the green circle with white check mark means everything is okay. We'll click on Next. And for the server configuration, we simply need to decide what we're going to start automatically. So we will start the SQL Server agent automatically in this instance, the database engine, and the SQL Server browser. The collation could be changed if we needed to for some reason, but we'll accept the default, which typically matches that of the server on which you are installing. We'll click Next. And now we must configure the configuration of authentication for this instance, and I'm going to use mixed mode. I like to do that in my lab environments so I can log on as different users easily and test different configurations and permission sets. So I'll enter a valid password for the system administrator account, and I'm going to add the current user, which is going to be the administrator with which I'm logged onto this server, and then click on Next. I'm not going to send any error report information. We'll click Next. And we'll show details on the installation configuration rules that have executed, and everything is good with the green circle and the white check mark, so we're okay to begin the install. We'll click Next, get an overview of what we've said we want to do, and then click on Install to begin the installation process. And that's really all there is to installing SQL Server 2012. You will simply want to allow your installation process to complete. At the end, you should get a screen that shows that there were no errors. If you do have errors, you'll need to look closely at what they are, try to analyze those, and then resolve them and perform the installation process again.